Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. I know not all of you watch television, at least regularly, but perhaps you watch select shows this time of year, certain Christmas movies or cartoons. A favorite one of mine is the original, not the modernized, but the original version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Based on the book by Dr. Seuss. I believe it was in the 60s when the short movie was produced, with the voice of none other than Boris Karloff, the Frankenstein monster of the early classic horror movies. At any rate, you probably know the story of the Grinch. The Grinch who hated Christmas, he hated merriment. And his Grinch cave overlooked the small village of Whoville. And he hated and detested hearing the Whos making music and merriment on Christmas Day. So during the night, Christmas Eve night, he went into their town and he stole all of the external symbols of Christmas. He stole their Christmas trees and lights. He stole their stockings. He stole the presents from under the trees. And he stole their means of making music. And then the next morning on Christmas Day, anticipating the misery of Whoville, he suddenly heard the sound of Christmas music coming from the Whos. And he came to realize that there was some deeper meaning to their Christmas celebration than all of the externals that he had stolen from them. And so then he returns everything to them, and his heart grows bigger, and he joins in the merriment of Christmas. Now, I know the story of the Grinch doesn't quite get to the level of the real meaning of Christmas, but it's an attempt and suggests that there's something deeper in people than the externals. Of course, we know the deeper meaning of Christmas and that it is Christ. And so that's an important addendum to add to the story of the Grinch. But you know, there have been Grinches from the very first Christmas and Grinches who will continue until the very last Christmas, who attempt to steal or shut down Christmas. There was the Grinch at the inn who told the Holy Family that there was no place for them. There was the evil Grinch who was king over Israel, who attempted to destroy the Christ child, and in the process murdered every infant boy 2 years old or younger. There were the wicked Grinches of religion and the pagan empire at Golgotha. All of these attempting to not only stop Christmas, but destroy its significance, which is Christ. And we have modern Grinches as well, in government in particular, many of them governors or holding positions elsewhere. There are still places, even now, on this Christmas Day, where Christmas Mass is forbidden to the faithful, where they are not allowed to leave their homes. There are places, even in our nation, where the numbers allowed to attend Christmas Mass are very limited. Christmas travel and Christmas time together have been restricted or outlawed in many places. Many people have lost their businesses, lost their employment, and some have died in isolation or are lingering in isolation even now. The good news is here in Minnesota, we are allowed to have outdoor dining. This morning when I opened the church, it was 3 below. 2 days ago, the wind chill was 40 below. But we can have outdoor dining. So the Grinches are doing their best, their utmost, to subdue, suppress, or destroy Christmas. But it's so much more than what they can do. I go back more than 40 years to what had to have been the hardest Christmas of my life. I was on a mountaintop in the country of Turkey. It was a year-long military tour. It was remote. It was with 90 other airmen. We were in a Muslim country. Nearly everything was stripped from us related to Christmas. There were no families, and many of those men were married with children. There were no Christmas cards because we had no mail. There were no Christmas calls because we had no phones. There were no Christmas trees, no Christmas lights. Christmas music was forbidden lest it offend the Muslims. There was not even Christmas Mass because there was no Christmas priest anywhere near that mountain. So what we decided to do was to try and do something in the Christmas spirit. We brought in a busload of Turkish orphans from the local village, about 100, who had even less than we had. They had tattered clothes. Many did not have shoes. They were perpetually hungry. They knew nothing of Christ in the church. We brought them up and bussed them up our mountaintop, and we gave them as many hamburgers and French fries and bowls of ice cream that they could eat. Things they had never had and never even knew existed. And we had all chipped in, and we gave each one of them a Christmas present. That was our way of trying to bring some light into darkness. And you know what? An earlier Mass today, a slightly older gentleman came up to me and said, "Father, I was in Vietnam not too many years before that, and we did something very similar for Vietnamese orphans. It must be something GIs do, I guess." At any rate, when the externals are stripped from us, there is still the reality of Christmas. That Christ was born on Christmas Day, and Christ died some 33 years later on Golgotha, and Christ rose from the dead. And no Grinches, no matter how powerful, no matter how evil, can do anything to stop Christmas and its effects. Christmas is the light of Christ breaking into the darkness of sin. In the prologue of St. John, which we recite and proclaim at the end of every Mass, we are reminded that when the light came into the world, the darkness not only did not welcome it, but it contended against it. But the darkness is always defeated by the light. So regardless of what may have been stripped from us on this particular Christmas, or Christmases yet to come, it can never be taken. It can never be destroyed. It can never be subdued. The light of Christ will always prevail over the darkness of sin. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost.